What advice would you give someone your age, younger, in high school, that is experiencing loss in their life?
Just look forward. Don't let your trauma define who you are or what your future holds for you. That's a tough question.
Welcome to the Elevated Hope Project, a podcast dedicated to celebrating stories of resilience, transformation, and second chances. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Elevated Education, an organization that serves students through innovative alternative schools like East Point High School, Elevated Academy, and Accelerated Learning Center. At Elevated Education, we believe in the power of education to change lives and create hope where it's needed most. Today, we're honored to be joined by Mayson and just hear her incredible story. She's a graduate of Accelerated Learning Center here in Phoenix. I think the story is just a testament of the strength of the human spirit and the power of community that you can put around yourself when you're coming across those hard times. So we're excited to have you here. You recently spoke at our professional development event, which I know our entire staff just loves to hear the stories of success that our students have. So we're going to go through some of that today and really just kind of go through your life story.
All right.
So one of the traditions that I try to remember when we start this podcast is I like to ask our guests something that they're grateful for right now.
Honestly, just to be where I am right now in my life, consider me everything I've been through. I'm happy to be right where I am.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
And I'm really curious, and I've wanted to start asking this question. So you're going to be the first one that I'm asking this question to. You're part of Gen Z. Like, yeah. I'm just really curious, like, what's your outlook on the world right now? Question.
Just an easy question. Well, my generation could definitely do better. Could all together as a whole just be a little better for everyone else.
What do you mean by that? Like, do you feel like it's like a selfish thing or?
People are just so rude these days. And it's like kind of takes me back sometimes. I'm like, how did we get here? And yeah, some people are very selfish. That could be definitely worked on. But yeah, I think, we could definitely do better as a community.
Do you have hope for the future?
I do. I don't think it'll be easy, but because some people are just so stubborn and whatever happens, they don't try to get a better outcome for the future. They're kind of just like, where we're at. It's not going to get any better. The only way you change that is by working up towards that. And so people don't want to put in that effort. So yeah, I do have hope. It'll just take a lot of work to get there.
It's all about putting in the work.
Yeah.
Let's start on a life story with you, Mayson. Let's start back as kind of early as you can remember, like where you grew up, your upbringing, your family dynamic, all of those different factors of your life.
Okay. I was born November 10th, 2006. I'm the youngest of 5. I have 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters. I was raised by my 2 amazing parents who knew what they were doing, worked together, and never gave up on each other.
Were you born here in Phoenix?
Yeah, here in Arizona. Okay, yeah. My family and I, we spent a lot of time together, especially when I was really little. We went on a lot of camping trips, just a lot of outdoors, a lot of just family gatherings. We also spent a lot of time up in Crown King, which is where my grandparents, my dad's side of the family lived at the time. And we did a lot of baking with my grandma. We loved to bake with her. My grandpa, he had a big blue tractor. Me and my sisters loved going on rides in that. We would go up there when it snowed, loved the snow. But yeah, we were very, very outdoorsy.
Yeah. And where is Crown King?
Still Arizona? Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's still in Arizona. Kind of, never heard of it.
Neither.
It's way in the mountains. Oh, yeah. It's way in the mountains. Yeah, I don't know the exact location. It's when you're going up to Prescott and Flagstaff a little before that. I was always closer to my sisters. My brothers struggled very bad with drug addiction. Shortly after I was born, it's always about the ages. I want to say 11 to like 15 or 16. They got sober at different times. I was really young. I didn't understand like what was going on with them. I was always told they were just very sick. Just how do you explain that to a small child? And then we eventually moved in when I was about 6 with my grandparents, my mom's side of the family. which is where we stayed until we moved out in about 2019. Living there, my brother spent a lot of time in and out of the house, either moving in and out or getting kicked out for being on drugs or getting in trouble with the cops and stuff. Yeah, living there, we always lots of outdoor time. Lived on this big property. There's plenty of desert to go around play in.
You mentioned that your brothers got sober at different times. They're doing okay now?
Yeah, so my oldest brother, Blake, yeah, he's 34. He lives in Missouri with his wife, his 2 daughters and son. So he's doing really good now. Oh, yeah. And then my brother, Connor, he'll be 31 later this month. He lives here with his son. He lives at home with my family, just him and his son.
Yeah.
So,
What an interesting thing to observe growing up. And yeah, eventually figure out what was really going on.
yeah, definitely don't say that, but I'm very proud of them for just what's motivating itself, seeing them being so low into their lives and then completely becoming new humans with entire families. So that was very, very encouraging to me too.
So it sounds like you had a pretty tight-knit family unit. Mom, dad, siblings, grandparents really involved. How did that shape you growing up? Because a lot of kids just don't have that these days. How did that influence your mindset and the way you valued family, all that kind of stuff?
And like you said, a lot of people don't have that. It showed me that I was fortunate to be raised in such a good living environment like that. Very blessed for that. I feel like with a close family like that, you get along with people better and you try to look for the better in everybody else. It was obviously I had like a big support system by them, still do. Just people I could rely on.
You mentioned you're really close with your sisters, right? So that was probably huge too, just having
Oh yeah,
a tribe.
yeah. Me and my sister Braylon, she just turned 20 in September. Yeah, her and I spent a lot of time together doing whatever we did, stupid stuff.
Do you still spend a lot of time together?
Not nearly as much. Not really. We kind of just stay in our rooms and go our separate ways and do our stuff. But yeah, when we do get together, it's like old times.
Yeah.
Sitting there laughing, crying.
So you said you moved out of your grandparents' house in 2019.
Yeah.
Was that a big transition in your life?
Yeah, it was a very difficult time for me and my family because on September 12th of 2018, my oldest sister Annika, who was 17 at the time, she was killed in a car crash. So yeah, my grandparents, it was just my grandma at the time. My grandpa had passed away a little earlier. I think she was selling the house. So, me and my family, we had to get our things together and then look for a different house. And we just had lost my sister. So it was a very challenging time for us, but lots of changes in a very, very short amount of time.
Yeah, right after a huge trauma, then to have another kind of foundational change of where you're living.
Yeah.
A lot
Mm-hmm.
to process.
Did you have to change schools at that time too, based on where you moved?
No.
No, okay. So you stayed in the general area.
Yeah.
Okay. What grade were you in at that point and what school were you at?
I was in 6th grade. I was 11 years old. I was going to Desert Shadows Elementary School. It's not too far from ALC. I was there 6th grade, and then my sister Braylon was in the school right next door, the Desert Shadows Middle School. And then Annika was at ALC. She was a junior at ALC.
That was for Accelerated Learning Center's culture. That was like their introduction to your family was your oldest sister, right? She was the first. No, then no. Did your brothers go there too?
My brothers went there in, why is it? About late 2010s, the late 2000s, early 2010s. So almost 18 years ago.
So your family's a staple.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Very, very well known.
Okay.
All of your siblings had gone through Accelerated Learning Center.
Yeah.
From your perspective, I'm sure your dad was, your mom and dad were the decision makers of that at the time. What drew your family to Accelerated Learning Center as opposed to the big public schools?
See, I don't know the answer to that question. I was thinking about that last night because I had a feeling I was going to be asked, but yeah, I really don't know. I wish I did. The only person that would have that answer would be my mom. It could have been because my brothers were really just struggling, and this was like ALC is just a smaller school, and works with more students that need a little more help.
Yeah.
So it could have been that yet. But yeah, I really don't know the answer to that question. I wish I did.
Sometimes we figure out the reasons for things after the fact, right? So if you were now looking back on all of your time at ALC, what would you kind of guess the reason was that you, even if your mom didn't even know it at the time, what do you think the reason was for your family to be there?
Yeah, honestly, just it being a small school and supporting students who struggled with learning life stuff or just needed flexible hours. I would say that's probably why. I don't know what ALC was like 18 years ago, so I'm sure there's been a lot of changes, a bit amount at least. But yeah, I'm sure it was also very, very supportive way back then.
You went to ALC starting your freshman year.
Yeah,
You didn't even have the big public school experience.
for my first 2 weeks of freshman year, I was actually at Horizon High School. The only reason I went there was so that I could play basketball, because I play a lot of basketball. I want to be on the basketball team. Yeah, I wanted to go to ALC, but it was very heartbroken that there was no basketball team. But after 2 weeks at Horizon, I went to my mom and I said, "Mom, I'm done. Please take me to ALC." So she did. I don't do the big environments, the people, just teenagers, not getting into good stuff, not good people, most of them at least. And a lot of them I knew since elementary school. So yeah, it just wasn't the environment for me. And I couldn't get the support from my teachers. I don't do big classrooms. I have a hard time learning that way.
Did you find a way to continue playing basketball?
I kind of just stopped. I want to say freshman year. I just completely, here and there at home, I'll play a little basketball with my nephew. But no, I'd lost my spark for it.
That happens. We go in and out of things that we're interested in.
Yeah.
It's natural.
I wanted to ask you, going from the big school at Horizon to ALC, what was sort of the first difference you noticed transitioning over to ALC where you're like, oh, wow, okay, I can see this being something I could be successful with?
It was just very welcoming by all the staff, just a much smaller environment. And I realized I could have a more personal connection with each of my teachers. They could figure out my learning style and what I needed to do to be able to be successful in my classes. But yeah, it was just a very, very personal, more face-to-face learning, because all throughout elementary and middle school, when I was really little, I was taking speech classes outside of school because had a really hard time pronouncing words, get all stumbled and mumbo jumbo, whatever. And during school, all the way from kindergarten to 6th grade, I was taking extra classes during school hours to help me with my learning needs, because I never been particularly good at school, not very school smart. I've struggled with pretty much every single subject, especially English and math, and having struggles in those subjects definitely caused a lot of self-doubt, because I'd see my classmates getting it so easy or being able to summarize a short story so fast, and I'm sitting there for like 15 minutes, and I'm like, how'd you do that?
Yeah.
And I just felt very outcast. Would that be the right word? Feel like I didn't fit in with them.
You said you developed a sense of self-doubt, right? Just because you weren't able to academically perform like your peers. You walked across the graduation stage and got a diploma. What helped you overcome that self-doubt?
To be honest, I don't think the self-doubt ever left. I just had more of a supportive community by all the ALC staff, and they definitely encouraged me and helped me the best that they could to get me through my schooling and education. The self-doubt never left, because I still have a very hard time with English and math, and I still to this day, when I can't figure it out, I'm like, man, I just wish I could do it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I get that. And I think we all have some self-doubt in different areas. But the one thing I hope that you see in your story is, yes, you had the support of ALC staff, but for you to be able to get that diploma in your hand required an incredible amount of resilience on your end of like, yeah, I'm not good at this, I'm struggling, but I'm going to keep showing up every day. And you did that. And that's what got you across the finish line, not because you were lacking in some academic knowledge, or not even necessarily because the staff had to push you across the finish line, right? You showed up and did that work yourself. So I hope you see that. And I hope you see like just the amount of work that you put in to get that done, which is incredible.
Elementary school, I was bullied a little, and that did not help. Anything. As stupid as it sounds, a lot of the kids made mean comments about like my name, the way I dress, because I've always been a little more on the masculine side, the more boy clothes style. Yeah, the way I dress and my name Mayson, being a more male dominated name, definitely confused some of the kids, and they didn't quite understand exactly if that was a boy or a girl, and that was a little hurtful. And people purposely like misgendered me all the time. Even like some teachers, like if there were substitutes and they were like bringing down the name chart and they would come to my name, they looked at me like, and you could tell they were like time to take it back. Like, oh, that's not what I was expecting. But yeah, I was also just bullied for stupid reasons. Kids like to just pick on people for whatever reasons they could figure out. And I was always a bit of a loner. I didn't get along with anybody. I've always been a little more ahead of my years than most people my age.
An old soul.
Yeah. I just didn't fit in with anybody. I was always closer to the teachers. Not trying to be like a teacher's pet or anything. I just simply didn't get along with it.
Yeah, but I just related to adults better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's actually a great life skill.
Yeah.
And I noticed that you had a really cool relationship with your dad, which I'm sure that's, I mean, you probably being an old soul and maybe not feeling like you fit in at school, but also that having a really strong connection with the parents probably helped you grow in maturity differently than these kids
Mm-hmm.
had different trajectory than a lot of kids who are going to gravitate to in more immature behaviors in relationships. So that will serve you well going forward.
Yeah, I was definitely raised to be respectful, never just don't be rude. That's how I was raised. Yeah, I didn't have very many friends, which hurt because I'd see groups of people, they'd be hanging out with everybody, and just kind of sat and did my own thing. Always ate lunch alone. And like during class, if we had group projects, I was always the last person to go in a group. Everyone already had their friends, or I end up having a team up with the teachers, which I didn't mind. I did have friends here and there, but it's either we were apart or they stabbed me in the back. So yeah, I kind of just laid low and did my own thing, and I honestly kind of preferred being alone than with a bunch of people. When I got to middle school, the bullying still persisted a little bit. Middle school is when everything went online because of COVID, and yeah, started class, so we had to deal with it. But yeah, ALC, I talked to whoever. I don't really care. We were best friends. Yeah, I talked to whoever. Didn't have a hard time speaking to people. So yeah, it definitely changed elementary and middle school. Were definitely hard for me, but when I got to high school,
And I was there. How much of that, it sounds like it changed at high school. How much of that would you say was the environment and how much of it was just you changed as a person?
I'd say it was more so the environment. Smaller, way smaller, less people, easier to talk to people, for sure. And they want all those other teenagers. Like, it was a different type of people at ALC than it was at other schools. You could tell they had like a little more empathy towards people, care a little more. But yeah, with me, I'm gonna say it was after my sister died, I just kind of lost who I was. Not like a bad way, I just had a hard time recognizing my past self. So that was like the good and bad. I never changed for the worse. But yeah, it definitely shaped my outlook.
Explain that a little bit. How did it shape or change your outlook after your sister passed?
Going through something traumatic like that, I just viewed the world more differently. You never know what's going on in someone's life. You never know. So I would look at some people who I may not have wanted to be around with, and thought, what are they going through? Is there a reason they're being this way? Is there a main source for this energy?
So it sounds like it gave you more empathy for people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that going through that deep grief process of losing your sister is what kind of opened your eyes to being more empathetic for others.
Yeah.
Knowing that, when you're out in public, you're putting on a good mask over that grief. And some of that behavior that you were experiencing could have been because they were grieving underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great perspective.
So I like not to completely go too fast forward, but I was thinking about the fact that I've heard bits and pieces of your story. You wrote a really well-written email a few months ago about your journey, and then you came and spoke to our staff, our event, and then now. And I'm hearing little bits and pieces of your story. But what I haven't heard yet is what your hopes and dreams are for the future. Like, what are the things that you've been so resilient, right? And you've pushed through so much. And now we get to think about that's the next step. What's your future? What are some of those things that you've thought about for your future, whether they seem realistic or not?
Honestly, that's one thing. That's a question I struggle with to answer because I have a really hard time with just the future. I don't know what I want to do. I don't plan to change anyway. Yeah, as a career path, I have no idea. Welding. Me and my dad have talked about welding. I want to get into. My dad and I, we have a welder. Within needing to get to that and practice and see if I like it before moving forward to go on like a trade school or something. But we're just so busy, we don't really have the time at the moment. But yeah, future plans, I really don't know. I'm kind of just to go with the flow. So whatever happens, happens.
It's kind of a cool place to be, is a blank slate.
Mm-hmm.
It can be anything. It's just a matter of putting the time in to have the conversations and do some research and try some things out. So, yeah, I mean, I asked that question not expecting like it's a success or a fail. If you have a vision for your future, a lot of people like sometimes I don't know that I have a vision for my future, right? It's just you can take it one day at a time. But a blank slate, you can kind of do anything at this point.
I have a question. When you're going to ALC, and I know there's different presenters and things, different programs that you can participate in after high school, career paths. Did you ever come across anything that at least got the motors churning on maybe welding or trade schools or anything like that?
No, not really. The Air Force, joining the Air Force was brought up. I talked to Mr. Coffee about that. He set up a slideshow and presentation for me, and I decided I don't want to do that anymore. I was just trying to get through each day.
It's something when I came into ALC towards before you graduated. So let me cock you right at the end there, just before you graduated. But I remember, I think we were doing an elective class or something. You had one of those classes that you needed to get done. And so we assigned that for you to get done. But every single teacher and every single student that when your name was brought up or you were in the discussion, the amount of positive things they had to say, oh, that's awesome. And then just talking to you were such this bright light and energy around it was really positive. And so I didn't know your backstory. I said, what a cool young person that I get to work with here. And your teachers thought the exact same thing. Did you ever get the impression of that you were really having this positive impact on people around you?
Yeah, yeah. I really do hope so, but yeah, I think so. A lot of students, some students, I didn't even know the names. And they walk up to me, they're like, hey, Mayson. I'm like, hey, who are you? I'm like, love the energy, but what's your name? Even like some of because I only attended PM classes, so 12:30 to 4:30, because I was hoping up at 7 one more. No way. Yeah, some AM students, I'd see them here and there. They'd talk to me. I'm like, it's pretty cool. I'd say I had a pretty close relationship with all the teachers and staff. Mostly, some of them they've known my family for forever, 18 years. Like Mr. Cabler, Miss Markham, Miss Curran. Does Miss Curran still? No. Oh, but yeah, mainly just those three. Yeah, I definitely feel like I had a little reassumption out there.
It was great. It really changes a road. It changes the culture of a road. When you're working with students, we can have young people like yourself that just bring this positive energy into it. It's just really cool. So thank you for being awesome, being you, and all the teachers recognize that, and you're just so it's a pleasure to work there and having that class.
I appreciate that. But yeah, it was definitely towards, I want to say, like the end of sophomore year and up. I was a little more of a loudmouth in class. I like obnoxious, just would speak up more. Gave it my best shot to answer some questions, even if I made myself look stupid. I get the class laughing. But yeah, it was all my years in ALC were great. It was very welcoming. And my sister Braylon, she was starting her sophomore year when I became a freshman, so it was a little easier. Having her there was just a little more comforting. And I had become friends with the friends she had already made. That was her first year there because her freshman year, she was actually at Horizon. So it was both of our first years at ALC. Freshman and sophomore year, I don't remember too much. Sophomore year, there were a few new teachers. Freshman year, some of the teachers there, they taught my brothers and my sister. And then sophomore year, pretty much all the OG staff left, besides Mr. Kaler and Miss Markham and a few others. So yeah, it was a new teachers, new environment, having to relearn, get to know these new people, see their style and whatnot. Yeah, freshman and sophomore year, I don't remember too much. But junior year was tough. Sophomore year, I didn't miss a single day of school.
Wow.
Not a single day of school I missed my sophomore year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah,
It's amazing.
I'm kind of proud of that because elementary, middle school, I hated school. Absolutely hated it. I didn't want to be there, and I wasn't good at it. I never once got above a C in any of my classes. But yeah, all throughout ALC, I only got A's and B's. I only ever got one C. I really wished I got that up, but I didn't. So going from never getting above a C to only A's and B's definitely made me feel a little better about myself.
Yeah, it's a boost of confidence.
Yeah. But yeah, junior year, I don't remember much of that, the beginning of that year. It was during the winter break. So, later December, my mom, she fell very ill and she ended up going to the ICU on January 1st. I was still going to school. I did switch my hours from, I believe it was 9 to 4:30 because Braylon, she was doing morning classes because she had to get some more credits because she was missing a few from freshman year, so she just had to catch up. So I was doing school with her because I had no separate rides because my dad would take her and then my mom would take me on my hours. But yeah, my mom was in the ICU and then things went drastically downhill from there. On the 3rd, she ended up having to be transferred to a different hospital for better care. And throughout that whole time, I was still going to school because we thought she was going to, be okay. So I was powering through school, doing more hours, which I didn't mind because I enjoyed school. ALC school, enjoyed that. But yeah, it was January 11th, which happens to be my mom's birthday. We were told by the doctors that we had a tough decision we had to make. It was either we had to let him go or she would have to sit in a care facility for the rest of her life and be looked after and taken care of. And knowing my mom, she would have wanted. She always told my dad if she ever ended up in a situation like that, to let her go. So that day we had to make the tough decision and we had to let her go. And then, after that day, we called the school, Mr. K. We were like, hey, he already knew what was going on because we told him and my mom. They were kind of close.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah,
So many years.
they were pretty close. So we called the school, told them what was going on. And then on the 11th, it was the day after, we told them we can't come to school. This is what's happening. We'll keep you updated. They were very taken aback by that because they've known my family forever. But yeah, it was the 16th, January 16th. she was transferred to hospice, which is where she stayed in almost exactly 48 hours. It was on January 18th, 8:46 p.m. She passed away. My family and I were all there. So she was very supported and wasn't alone. But yeah, my sister and I weren't sure how we would continue our education after that, how we moved forward from that. A few days later, we got to the school and we sat down with Mr. Kaler and he worked out a schedule for us. We would only be attending school Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays until we felt ready to go back full time. I ended up going back to school on, I believe it was the 29th, so 11 days later. 11 days is such a short time after losing your mom. But I felt the need to go back because when something happens like that, your life doesn't just stop. It doesn't stop dead in its tracks. You still have your responsibilities you have to do, things you need to take care of. And it was, I don't want to say easier, but it was a little easier to move on from that. Everything with my sister. It was kind of like, we were kind of already like prepared, like mentally, how that would go. After losing my sister, I didn't go to school for like over a month. I returned after 11 days, and that day, all of the teachers and staff looked at me like, hey, you take today, tomorrow, this week, however long you need to figure out how you're feeling, soak it all in, and if we need to make any necessary adjustments, we will. You talk to us, you'll let us know. So they were all very, very supportive.
So you lost your mom a few years after you lost your sister.
Yeah, about 6.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot of loss in your short life so far. What advice would you give someone your age, younger, in high school, that is experiencing loss in their life?
Just look forward. Don't let your trauma define who you are or what your future holds for you. That's a tough question.
That was really good advice so far.
But yeah, don't let it define who you are as a person. It never defined me. It never made me a bad person, which that happens a lot. But some kids, when they go through trauma like that, they end up being just a not so good person because they're bottling it all up and don't know how to handle it. Yeah, don't change who you are. Don't let it define your future. As tough as it is, the biggest lesson I won't ever tell you is it gets easier. It doesn't get easier. You learn how to live with it. That's what grief is. We learn how to live through it. We learn how to live with it. It doesn't go away.
So I think what I'm hearing is, we all have trauma of some level. And ultimately, those are things that shape us as human beings, but we're not victims. And to avoid taking on a victim mentality and just finding the best and most healthy way to learn from that trauma and move through it. You say that's a good way to summarize what you were saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's some good advice.
It is. Thank you for sharing your story, all of those details with us. And that's a lot. And you did it so well.
Thank you.
I was just thinking what an honor, like on behalf of ALC, I know I was not part of that community when you were a student there, but what an honor it is to be part of the community that you stay with when you're dealing with a trauma, right? Because they say that when really hard life happens, you get rid of the things you feel least connected to and then you adhere to the things that you feel most connected to. That's kind of your survival mechanism, right? And so you stayed connected to your community at school, and that's an honor for them to be selected by you to be a part of that healing process.
Yeah. And it was just, I already had such a close bond with them, especially Miss Todd and Miss Nitschke and Mr. Kaler. I had such a close connection with them, and they were kind of like my safe point. I enjoyed school. I liked being there, especially with such a tough time. They were just so supportive, and I felt so safe with them. I graduated early, November 6th last year. And I was honestly more sad than I was happy. Yeah, I was a little more sad because I wasn't ready to leave. Not at all.
But now you're working, right?
I am.
Yep, making a way for yourself. So what are you doing right now?
Just working at Long John Silver's my junior year. During that summer, I knew I wanted to get a job, mostly just to help out my dad with some stuff and for my own well-being. I couldn't just sit at home and do nothing because after my mom, school was kind of like my getaway. So yeah, that summer I'm like, I need to find something to do. I can't sit at home and do nothing. I applied to like 30 places, never really heard back from any of them. Right after I graduated in December, I got called in for an interview by them, and then they hired me on the spot. I started working January 3rd. So, yeah, I've almost been there a year now.
Good.
It definitely was not my first decision, but I'm kind of glad it is because the people I work with, they're people I've been in and out. So, some of the people that I was pretty chill with, they've now left. But yeah, my manager, he's a good guy. He's kind of been through similar life stuff. He's very, very caring, supportive, and he understands and looks after his staff. Yeah, it's a good first job. Yeah, it's not too hard.
Everybody's got to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this, that, you may not have a vision and a plan for the future yet. But you are an incredible person that has tremendous strength inside of you to just keep showing up, just keep putting in work. And that characteristic alone puts you ahead of 90% of the workforce. That you're willing to show up, that you're willing to learn, that you're willing to put in the work. And I believe that you have a very bright future ahead of you, as long as you can stay focused on those very basic principles, which I think are like hardwired and ingrained in you from just the way you were raised. Keep your head up as you're navigating this world, because opportunities are going to come knocking just because of who you are. And that those are going to be those opportunities that you can leverage and take advantage of, that are going to take you wherever it is you end up wanting to go.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming here, taking the day off work to share your story, and all the kind words about Accelerated Learning Center and staff there is obviously very appreciated. But more importantly, we do this so that when people happen to stumble on our podcast, they can very clearly see that sense of hope that they can have for their future. Whether there's someone that's in a similar place that you were at, that's just trying to find that little bit of hope and motivation to keep going and show up, or whether it's a parent trying to support their child that's in that situation, or fellow educators that are looking for different ways to engage their students and support their students, that whatever it is, whoever it is, that they're seeing that there is hope, that there is a way forward, but we just got to show up and put in the work.
Yeah.
The primary key to life, showing up and putting in the work, and walking through those doors that will open up for you, because I know there will be many out of you.
I hope so.
There will be. So thank you. It was an honor spending the time with us today. Sir.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. And thank you to the famous Sean Strickland for being a guest host today. Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah. We love having you on the show.
I got lucky. I'd be here for the Mayson episode. Didn't have a better guest.
That's it. So,
Mayson.
okay. Thank you to all of our listeners. If you enjoyed this show, like, share, subscribe, all the things that'll just help our show continue to grow. Good seeing you. Okay. Thanks, Mayson.
Thank you.
Thank you.